What's up, SSC? Hey, so it's week. Is this 5, 6? I don't know. It's my question again. So I'm just sitting here and I'm watching these presidential debates here in America. Oh, sorry. And everyone, most people, a lot of people are like really fed up with the whole political thing, and me included. And one of the things I always think about when I'm watching this kind of stuff is like, there's all this kind of fighting, verbal fighting, and everything is, all these issues are made so political, right? But at the end of the day, politicians and governments are supposed to exist to serve and help the people, right? And there's goals that we're supposed to be pushing towards to make the world a better place, right? Like what's the purpose of the government, or what's the purpose of the countries that we have? We're all like trying to build a better future, basically. I don't think we think about that very much. What we're trying to, like, a lot of the time we get caught up in trying to fix our mistakes of the past, but really, ultimately, human civilization forever has always been just trying to improve itself, trying to move into something better in the future. But we don't think about that. We forget that. And I was thinking about, like, the other day, movies that we watch, like futuristic movies, and so many times, almost all the time, when you see like a futuristic movie, it's always some kind of dystopia, It's not like a good future. And so because of some of those things, I feel like we don't really think about the future, or at least we don't think about the possibility, the possibility of a good future, like the concrete elements of what a good future would be. But we all want one, but we don't really talk about it. So I guess my question basically is to you is, what is the future that you hope for? Or what's the world, describe the world that you would like to see. Describe the world that you would hope to get to in the future. Essentially, what would be utopia for you? If you could choose, if you could dictate that, if you could make those choices, if you could make it a reality, what are the things that you would want to make real? And what's the future that you would want to put in place? I kind of feel like we all basically want the same stuff, but we get so lost in all these debates and in these political conversations, and so lost in just the problems of today, that we don't think about tomorrow. We don't think about trying to change things for the better for tomorrow. And I think that's really dangerous, because if we all realize that we kind of are trying to generally push for the same future, that can unify us now. It's so important that we think about the future. So important, because it's coming. You can't stop it. It's coming whether you like it or not. And to not think about it is just, I think it's pretty stupid. So let me just talk a little bit about the future I hope for. So utopia, right? It's this idea of like a perfect society where everyone gets along and everything is good. What I really believe is that real change doesn't come from anything a government can do, anything that someone else can do for you. It comes from you. It comes from in here. All real change starts from the inside out. So if we have any hope of a better future, we have to start with ourselves. We have to start with our own character. We have to be responsible to be better people now, in and of ourselves. So what does this mean? Well, this doesn't mean just like acting better, but it means having better character. It means being moral people. A lot of these problems that we're trying to fix are just because of the mistakes that were made by our ancestors in the past, or even not even necessarily in the far past, but just even the immediate past. Like, this whole national debt thing is because of these administrations of the recent past and the spending and all that. And they were doing it to kind of fix the trouble that they had then, but now we have to deal with this debt. And so this, I guess, ideally, what I would hope that we could get to one day is a place where everybody, that there's excellent communication. I think that's a given. We have to be great communicators. We have to work on communication and understanding. And that, again, is education. I talked about that a little bit in my last video, or maybe it was 2 videos ago. I guess it was 2 videos ago. But yeah, education is so important, and so I think my perfect world, everyone's well educated. Um, Everyone cares about being educated and trying to learn as much about the world as they can. Um, that there's really a big stigma put on an ignorant lifestyle. Like right now, you have the whole like YOLO thing, and you have these people just like, oh, we're just having fun, and just being young and not caring, and we make our mistakes now, and blah blah blah. And I guess I can kind of understand that on a level, but you can't afford to live like that um, for very long. And I feel like some people are living, especially now. Our society now allows us to stay younger a lot longer mentally. You know how they talk about like 30's the new 20. It's very true, and I think that's part of the reason you know things are going downhill. That's part of the reason we can only kind of imagine a dystopia in the future, just because we're not. I think we're becoming pretty immature, and we're not like there's a lot of issues that it seems like we're trying to be more responsible about, like the whole green thing. I understand that, but like I said, I think the real change comes from in here. And I think there's so much of it is just talk. So much of it is just this external, like, yeah, I support this cause, or like I recycle, or I wear these shoes, or I buy these products that have this sticker on it, or whatever it is. And that's fine, but that's not really, is that really doing anything? um, because at the end of the day, are you different? Because our society is not made up of necessarily the products you buy, or any of that. It's the bottom line. Society is made up of us. It's each one of us, and there's a responsibility on each one of us to be the best we can be. So anyway, I'm kind of rambling, but just a perfect future. So perfect future, the utopia I hope for. um, Everyone's educated. Education is a big, it's valued thing. I don't want to necessarily say mandatory, but if we could get to a place where everyone just wants it, and it's free to everyone, and that is great, and that's what I would want. So that one, um, and just one of the big things about that for me is just an understanding of where we are, where we've come from, um, like that the population has a really good picture of who we are, because that helps us make good decisions. Because if we don't fully understand who we are as a race, then we're just going to be wandering around and making the same mistakes over and over again. So that's that. That's the one thing, the education thing. Um, Another thing, I really hope for a world that just is a kind world. I think that's fair to say. I think everyone would love to have a kind world where people are sensitive and gentle and respectful and loving, and it's a big community. I mean, I think ultimately that's what I would love, like just where there's a sense of acceptance in the world, and a sense of community, and a sense of love, and peace and joy, and all of those wonderful things. Everyone talks about world peace. You want world peace, but do you really believe it'll ever show up? You know, um, but I think that's something we all want. And then what would happen? You ask yourself, what would happen once we have world peace? What does that existence look like? If peace is achieved. Throughout human history, you see this cycle of war and peace, and one can't exist without the other, because one is the absence of the other. You know what I mean? Like peace is the absence of war. Um, so it's this fluctuation. So if you got to this prolonged period of peace, do we know what that's really going to be like? If it's not leading into another war. So you want a place that's uh, you want a race of people that's knowledgeable, that's kind and loving, and that's peaceful. Um, so those are things you hope for in a perfect society. But then what else? What else is happening? Is that where do we put our efforts? If we don't have to worry about kind of fixing all these problems. If we fix these problems and we're at this peaceful existence all of a sudden, um, then where do we put our efforts? I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe some people would say space travel. We work on trying to further our existence and get out there, and maybe terraform planets and do all that stuff. And maybe I could see that. Maybe that could happen. Um, Definitely a lot more learning. Definitely more discovery about the universe, how things work. Um, it's hard for us to think about, because I don't because we don't think about it much. There's always this idea. Like if I ask you what's a dystopia, you can think of all these movies and like you have all kinds of ideas of like what that would be like. You have the Orwellian like 1984 version. You have the Huxley Brave New World version. You have Blade Runner, Akira, just any of those movies, or books, or all kinds of things. It's just this future that's hopeless, or that like it's just all these problems. So I've rambled way too long, and I only gave you little bits and pieces, but I guess so. I'll just come back to it. Reiterate the question is, what are things that you would hope for in a perfect future? Um, what would you like to see? If what is a utopia? What could that actually look like? If we had to make a movie about a good future, what would be happening? Okay, so that's what I'm interested in, and I can't wait to hear what people say. I will hear from you guys soon.